Before you skip this video, imagine tens of thousands of people screamed as loud as they could in a legendary stadium. Not for football matches, not for the Super Bowl, but for 7 Korean youths who had just come out of the military barracks and immediately shook the United States. And what makes you crazy? The soldiers who were supposed to be quiet and serious instead became hysterical. Welcome to a video that will probably make you cry, laugh, and get goosebumps all at once. Today we discuss the incredible moment BTS returned to Stanford Stadium and how the whole world, including real soldiers, cheered their return. Do not go anywhere. This is just the beginning. Okay, for those of you who are new to this world, or maybe those of you who have been around for a while but need to be reminded how crazy this phenomenon is a Euro, let's step back for a moment. BTS, 7 names: RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook. They are not just a boy band. They are the first K-pop group to ever top the Billboard Hot 100. They hold 26 Guinness World Records. They are the most streamed artists on Spotify from all over South Korea. Over 40 billion streams, a number that is even difficult to imagine. But behind all the glory, there was a painful break. In 2022, BTS announced a hiatus not because they wanted to, but because in South Korea, every man is required to serve in the military. One by one, they entered the barracks, leave the stage, leaving army, leaving millions of hearts waiting. Imagine your idol, who usually appears on stage with spotlights and perfect choreography, suddenly has to cut his hair, wear a military uniform, and undergo rigorous physical training for almost 2 years. And armies? They wait, patiently, with tears, with a countdown that never stops. Then suddenly, they came back. March 2026, new album released. The title, Arirang. The name is no coincidence. Arirang is the oldest and most well-known Korean folk song. A song about separation, about longing, about the long road that must be taken before finally returning home. As if BTS wanted to say, we left, we fought, and now we're home. And with the album came the announcement that made the internet explode. BTS World Tour Arirang. Tour starting April 9th, 2026. Tour covering major cities around the world. And one of the most anticipated stops, Stanford Stadium, California. Not one night, not 2 nights, 3 nights in a row. May 16th, 17th, and 19th, 2026. And when tickets opened for sale in January 2026, the server crashed immediately. People were crying in front of their computer screens. Tickets sold out in minutes. 3 nights. Capacity is more than 50,000 people per night. Finished, sold out. Total, more than 150,000 people will be at Stanford to witness this historic comeback. And to understand just how big those numbers were last year, Coldplay played in the same stadium and brought in 87,000 fans over 2 nights. BTS, they came up with 3 nights and much bigger numbers. Stanford itself calls this an operation twice the size of Coldplay. Nearly 100 trucks, bigger stage, more sophisticated technology. This is not an ordinary concert. This is a historical event. Now let's talk about something that really makes me shake my head. Armies didn't just come. They invaded. At San Francisco International Airport, even before BTS arrived, welcome banners and balloons were already put up by fans. Not by an official committee, not by sponsors, by fans. Ordinary people who are willing to dig into their own pockets for love. A fan group called Bay Area BTSXRMY even raised $7,500 through crowdfunding just to put up moving billboards welcoming BTS on the streets around the stadium. The billboards can be seen along Galvez Street and El Camino Real throughout the 3 days of the concert. In Sunnyvale, there was a massive army meetup with over 90 local vendors and dance performances. In Palo Alto, BTS-themed cafes are popping up. In Oakland, the K-pop Nation store was swarmed with shoppers. Hotels all over the Bay Area were packed. Korean restaurants have long queues. The local economy is moving. Stanford Live director Iris Namani even said, "It's like its own little town." There are hundreds of people working for this concert. Asterisk, and that doesn't include Caltrain, the train that people usually use every day to work, which has prepared special K-pop themed carriages to take fans to Palo Alto. On the train, passengers are allowed to dance. On the train, with BTS music playing loud, decorations everywhere, and gifts for the fans. Try to imagine the atmosphere. The train was full of Purple Sea. Everyone shouts, dances, sings. Not in the stadium, on a regular commuter train. This is no ordinary hype. This is a cultural phenomenon. Okay, now we get to the part you've been waiting for the most. I have written the title here. Army Enthusiasm Welcomes Stanford Stadium. And I'm not talking about Army BTS fans. I'm talking about real soldiers. People in military uniform. Because there is one thing you need to remember. BTS themselves have just completed their mandatory military service. 7 men who were previously world pop icons, RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, Jungkook have all lived their lives as South Korean soldiers. They know what it's like to wake up before the sun. They know what it's like to train in the cold and the heat. They know what military discipline means. And when they returned to the stage, something was different. A new connection, a maturity that cannot be faked. Among the tens of thousands of spectators who filled Stanford Stadium, there were veterans, active soldiers, military families who came not just as ordinary K-pop fans. They come with a different level of respect, with a different understanding of what BTS has been through. And when BTS stepped onto the stage, under the dazzling lights, in neat formation like soldiers who had just returned from duty, something magical happened. The stadium exploded. It's not just the screams of teenage girls that we imagine, but the tears of the mothers whose children had just returned from service. The cry of a young soldier who knew how hard it was to leave everything to serve his country. Loud applause from people who may have never listened to K-pop before, but understand the meaning of sacrifice. Some said the moment was like a welcome for heroes returning home from war. Not too much, not excessive, because in Korean culture, completing military service is an honor. And BTS is not running away from that obligation, even though they could use their status as cultural ambassadors to postpone it. They chose to leave, and now they're back. That's why the screaming at Stanford Stadium felt different, deeper, more emotional, more meaningful. Now we're talking about something no less amazing, the stage. BTS Arirang World Tour comes with a 360-degree in-the-round stage design. This means that the stage is in the center of the stadium, surrounded by spectators from all sides. There are no bad seats. No corners are blocked. Everyone is in the same position close to BTS. This concept itself is revolutionary, but coupled with giant LED screens surrounding the performance area, pyrotechnic effects that set the night air ablaze, and choreography that has been honed over months, the result is something that is hard to describe in words. Imagine 50,000 people holding BTS's official Purple Army Bomb light stick. When they turned them on and moved them in unison, the stadium turned into a sea of stars. The usually calm night sky in Palo Alto was suddenly filled with purple light shining from every corner. From above, the concert must have looked like a galaxy was born on Earth. There is one thing that is often forgotten when we talk about concerts of this magnitude. Their impact is much wider than we imagine. Last year, when Coldplay played Stanford Stadium, the concert generated about $2.5 million in state and local taxes. Imagine how much BTS would make with 3 nights with a bigger audience, and with fans who are notoriously willing to spend extra money on their idols. Hotel full, busy restaurant, public transportation is crowded, merchandise is sold out. Armies were even willing to queue for hours before the stadium doors opened just to get official t-shirts, tote bags, and limited edition light sticks. The director of Stanford Live even said that BTS fans are known as fans who travel far to see concerts. They come from all over the United States, from Asia, from Europe, from Latin America for just 3 nights at Stanford. And within Stanford's own campus, there is a student named Sofia Islas, a sophomore from Paraguay, who first heard BTS when she was 11 years old. BTS's music influenced him so much that he was motivated to learn to read English because because there was very little content about BTS in Spanish. And on the night of the concert, he didn't need to book a plane ticket, didn't need to book a hotel. He just needs to walked out of his dorm and entered the stadium. It was a moment that felt like a full circle, he said, and I'm sure many of you who watched this video also felt the same way. Do you know the most emotional moment at BTS comeback concert? Not in the middle of a show, not when they sing their favorite song, but when they first stepped onto the stage. Only that, just the first step. When the main lights went out, when the intro music started resounding, when the silhouettes of the seven figures appeared in the darkness, the stadium exploded with an indescribable sound. Not just screaming. This was a flood of emotions that had been bottled up for almost 4 years. The people who once thought this moment would never come, the fans who cried in their rooms when BTS announced their hiatus, who counted the days on a wall calendar, who kept their light sticks and promised to use them again, one day we're all there. And when RM, who usually appeared with the charisma of a calm leader, raised his hand to greet the entire stadium, he shouted so loudly that the ground beneath his feet shook. Jin, who is always known for his bright smile, appeared with slightly teary eyes. The cool Suga looks like he can't hide his smile. The energetic J-Hope immediately jumped up and down like there was no weight in the world. An expressive Jimin covered his mouth with his hand, impressed by the size of the sea of people in front of him. V, with his deep gaze, swallowed the scene slowly. And Jungkook, the youngest who has now grown into a strong man, raised his head and smiled broadly. 7 people, 7 smiles, and the 150,000 people who chose to be there for that moment. I want to end this video with something you probably didn't expect me to say. I don't always understand why BTS is this big. I don't always understand why people can cry just because they see their idols go up on stage. I don't always understand this phenomenon called ARMY, but after researching the events at Stanford Stadium, I began to understand. BTS is not just entertaining. They talk about the things that really matter: mental health, self-love, the struggle for acceptance, the pain of being young in a world that isn't always welcoming. And they do all that while remaining ordinary people who also have obligations to their country, who also have to give up careers at the top for greater responsibilities. That's why the soldiers were hysterical. Not because they suddenly became K-pop fans, but because they saw themselves there in the figures of 7 men who knew what it meant to sacrifice, who knew what it meant to leave, and who knew what it meant to return with their heads held high. And perhaps that is the greatest message of this entire event. Sometimes the one who shouts the loudest is not the weakest. Sometimes the most moved are actually the strongest, because they understand. Stanford Stadium, May 2026. 3 nights, 150,000 people. A moment that will be remembered forever. And if you're lucky enough to be there, you'll know for yourself what it's like. That's it, friends. Today's video is about the biggest comeback in the K-pop world and an incredible moment at Stanford Stadium that made everyone, even the soldiers, unable to hold back their tears. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below which is your favorite BTS member. I'm really curious. Share with your friends who need to know about this phenomenon. And if you have any clips or stories from this concert, drop them in the comments. See you in the next video. Purple you.